Australia could face more scorching temperatures. We speak to an expert on extreme weather to find out how the heat wave is changing lives. Well, to Australia now, which may see record temperatures this week of 50 degrees Celsius in the interior, and that may possibly spread into the south of the country. Now, while the southern hemisphere summer can be hot in the outback, the record would spark talk of bushfires 2 years ago that drew on a combination of climate change and a near-perfect mix of dry seasonal conditions. Earlier, I asked for an update on the current weather conditions from Dr. Sarah Perkins-Kirkpatrick, a chief investigator with the Australian Research Council of Excellence for Climate Extremes.
In the northwest of Australia, we do have quite a severe heat wave developing. Some parts of the far west are expected to see temperatures of about 50 degrees or so over the next couple of days. Whether or not that forecast eventuates to be quite that extreme remains to be seen. It is really hot, don't get me wrong. Those temperatures wouldn't be very pleasant to experience. But also it is summer here, and that is a very hot part of the country during summer. So temperatures that high aren't completely out of the picture, but certainly, tipping 50 degrees Celsius or even potentially breaking 50 degrees Celsius might very well be a record in some places.
Indeed. And Sarah, Australia has been through this many times before, hasn't it? What's the big concern or the big risk here?
Absolutely. So I'm sure many of you remember that back in 2019, 2020 summer, we had a very bad summer here. We had record-breaking temperatures, horrible bushfires, and really bad air quality because of those bushfires. And there's a really tight link between bad heat, consequential droughts, and also bushfire weather. At that stage, during that summer, a lot of those heat and bushfire conditions were actually limited to the southeast of Australia. So places like Melbourne, Sydney, Canberra, the really highly populated parts of Australia. This time, this particular heat wave is occurring in the northwest. That's a much more sparsely populated part of Australia, but it is also linked to bushfire risk. And they are certainly forecasting increased bushfire risk over that part of the country. And we actually recently had some bushfires in Perth, which is the capital of Western Australia, although that's a lot further south than this current heat wave.
What are people most concerned about right now, Sarah? And what can people do as the weather becomes more volatile over the next few weeks?
Absolutely. So what we call the black summer here, that was the 2019-2020 summer, was it was terrible. I lived through it. I was living through Sydney at the time. The smoke quality was horrible. No one could go outside. And it was a real wake-up call, I think, to many people about just how bad summers can get and will get, in part due to climate change in this part of the world. As I said, those conditions occurred over the most populous parts of Sydney. So for us to experience that, and for the everyday Australian to experience that, it's really put, I guess, a negative spin on our summers. We usually really embrace summer. We love the hot weather, and we love to go and celebrate it by going to the beach or having a barbecue with our mates, that sort of thing. But now there's a much more nervousness going into summer. Will it or won't it be hot? How bad will it be?
Indeed.
Who will be affected? And the consequential changes around that too.